you all shared sounds great. I'm brand new to the group, so I'm learning as I'm listening. But I will say, just looking at the list of topics, the parking reimagined point, I think, connects to the kind of future of transportation in general in this region. And I think there's some interesting things being proposed um, for that specific topic and is under consideration, and I think will potentially impact transportation trends. So I don't know if you've had Mike present to this group, but he did present to DSB, and I thought his presentation was really informative along those lines.
Who was it who made that presentation? Sorry, Christy.
I'm looking, I believe it was Mike Davis. I see this name.
Okay, I think it's the one that came to us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But tell you what, let me suggest here that we move on to our next item on the agenda. However, at the end of the meeting, right before we adjourn, anybody who wants to stay and talk about this, we can hang on a little bit. It's a meeting. As many of us can stick around as we need to, and so so that we can go through the agenda, and then folks who need to leave can do so, and then we'll loop back and carry on the conversation. I know, Pete and I have talked about talking after the meeting a little bit, so welcome to have anybody else, Kevin, Christy, anybody who would like to stick with us afterwards to talk about the September 30th agenda.
Despite your campaign platform of 2-hour meetings or bust, right?
Not this. This is a special additional, which you don't have to attend. So I think officially the adjournment will be later for this, depending on how many people stay. If there's only 2 of us, we'll adjourn. If there's more than 2, we'll stay in session.
Okay.
Okay. So appreciate it.
One thing I'd like to pick up on, you said, Mike, I think it's really important, since we're going to the board, that each one of us go to our supervisor and ask him or her what is important to them, one-on-one, so we have a feel for our own supervisors. Because I know some things Dan has on that are important to him, and frankly, we're already working them. But if you haven't talked to your supervisor, I think it's imperative.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Transportation Achievement Award announcement. Option 1, likely we would do, although not guaranteed, depending on how the conversations go, is to make that presentation before our joint meeting with the board on the 30th. But certainly we need to do it at some point here. I think it was the Scots Run Trail group there. So I think Calvin, not immediately, but if you could pull together the nomination form and the list of all the people and stuff like that, that's something we can reach out a little bit later if we choose to do that. At some point, we do want to do it. If we don't do it on September 30th, then some of us have to come in later. But it's time for us to give that award.
Maybe I misheard Calvin, but I thought the board gave us direction that, yeah, you should do it at the
Not direction. Not direction. I did not ask for direction.
Not direction. We asked them for their permission if we
Yes.
do it at the meeting, and they say yes. But
Okay.
the topic on the agenda is for the new tag award, not for this one, Mike. But we need to make the announcement for the 2022.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we do. Yes. So in fact, this topic really covers both making the announcement from 2021 and the announcement for solicitations for the 2022 award. So, and I will say, announcing the award with the board, and then using that forum to also solicit nominations for the 2022 award is also not a bad thing to do. So I am not opposed. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to doing the award presentation at the Board of Supervisors. I asked because I wanted to make sure we could do it, and we made so that is also a good use of time as well too. So
Right, and we need to do a nomination for the selection committee.
Mhm.
Cause we used to have like 3 people, 3 TAC members to head the TAC award committees, the subcommittee. So if you could, if you'd like, you can do it now, or you can wait to the next meeting.
I think Roger chaired the last one, and I served on it. I forget who the other, was it Linda? Who was our third member?
Linda, yes.
It was Linda. Mm-hmm.
So you're a little bit hampered here tonight too with absenteeism
And down a few commissioners. That's true.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we have the criteria. We have the application form we put together. I think we used last year. I think we put together a bit before. We can sort of put the solicitation out. We will need to get some volunteers to be on the selection committee. 3 preferably. It's all you got to do is read the nominations, and then put your vote in. I'm trying to think how we did the actual meeting there. I think we. Do you remember, Roger, exactly how we did the procedure last time to get through our meeting procedures?
There were only 3 of us, and I think we had a meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I think we read the proposals, and then since we were unanimous,
That made it easy.
Yeah.
we didn't have to have a meeting.
I've done this before. And one year we had a meeting a half hour before our regular TAC meeting.
Yep, I remember
And I
that.
think that was the game plan to do that this time, but we were unanimous, so there's really no need for the meeting. That doesn't guarantee how this one's going to go.
Yes.
And, well, if we get a lot of, we had better nominations last time. I mean, we could have on different ways. I mean, if we get the kind of response that we'd like to get, we may have to have a meeting.
It has to be public. It has to be open though, right, Calvin? It's yeah. So, Christy, would I alienate you already if I said you might want to jump in and serve? We would make you chairman, but it really is not too onerous.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not going to take days to be involved
No,
with,
it shouldn't.
I'd be happy to help. I wouldn't feel comfortable chairing the group, but yeah, I'd be happy to help.
All right, Mr. Chair, I found you one participant. You have to find the other 2. And
Kevin's becoming my tag team buddy here. So.
There you go. Well, I thought I heard you say yes, Kevin, and Roger did too. That's where I heard it.
Again?
I did my tenure last time, so we need to rotate around here.
Well, I would put myself on it, but I have a couple nominations to throw in again. So I'd rather not be voting on them.
Good. Maybe we could stick Jeremy with, since he's absent tonight. Ask him, but I don't think he's served on this in a while, and
yes, I think reach out to Jeremy, see if he's interested. I think actually we're running out of commissioners who haven't served recently. If it's just it is just sort of reading a nomination, I could serve if need be to get a third. But let's see if Jeremy's willing to do that. And I would ask him who's willing to chair.
sure, that'll teach him not to miss a meeting.
We would come around to him anyway, whether he's here or not. But yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think he, unless he's going to be out of pocket or something, he's probably willing to do it. He seems to be.
Eric, you have any interest in sharing it at all?
Who?
Eric.
Silence.
If Jeremy doesn't want to, sure.
Okay.
So we got several experienced commissioners to do.
Good job, Kevin.
That's right.
That's what I do best, delegate. So,
Kevin, the TAC chief of staff.
There you go.
so there you
So-
go, Eric Chair. I'm sure Jeremy will be your second, and Christie's agreed. So knock that one
So
off.
I believe I said if Jeremy doesn't want to chair it, I'll chair
Okay,
it. but-
fair enough.
Okay, well, we'll ask. Jeremy's been around a long enough time. He can do this. I can't
Okay.
remember. He wasn't on the committee last year, nor was I think he was the year before. I think Mary Pauline Jones was.
So is the chair or Calvin going to reach out to Jeremy to close
I
this
will.
out? Okay.
So, okay. Well, there you go. Thanks very much. We've talked about sort of both aspects of the TAC award. Then, one thing I just want to ask Calvin: when does the normal solicitation go out for the TAC award? I know we're getting close. When is there? What schedule have you normally used?
We used to do it in the summer.
Yeah, that's where we are now.
Yeah.
So now it's a little bit, yeah, now it's about the right time, yeah.
Yeah, because I think, in fact, because we want to, it's for 2022. So we want the term to be through like November, I think, you know. Did we specify the actual calendar time there, like January to November or something like that? Because otherwise we'll be making the selection in February or March for last year, which is fine if we want to do that, but you know, I can't remember what schedule we had.
I think we decided that we do by the calendar year,
Mm-hmm.
and it probably need like a month or two for the announcement, and we get the nomination in, and sometimes we don't, and we have to rerun it. So I guess now is the right time. I hope.
Yeah. Well, if we, and we could announce it, let's say, you know, on September 30th, particularly if we do the 21 award presentation at the meeting. And so the kickoff then is September 30th, and we ask for nominations by November 30th for 2022. So yeah, you missed December. I know, you know, folks are doing things in December, but you know, a couple of weeks you usually lose anyway. And then we make the selection in January, February of 2023 for 2022.
We trust you. You and the vice chair, just make the decision and do it.
All right. Well, that's what I'm thinking.
That's
Okay.
why we pay you the big bucks.
That's right. That's right. You can trust me with a lot of responsibility here, so I'll try not to let you down. And if I do start letting folks down, Kevin will be honest, as you should be. So, all right. So yeah, in fact, okay. Okay, sounds good. With that, let's move on to the next topic on the agenda here. That is public comment period, 2 minutes per speaker. Do we have any members of the public that are with us this evening that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, I do ask, I see the hexagon, the B hexagon. Who is that, by the way, if you asking?
I'm sorry.
The B hexagon, there's a person here participating. Welcome, of course. I'm just wondering who the B hexagon is.
I don't see that.
Am I the only one?
No, it's on there.
So this is Brett Riddle from SCOT. I don't know if that's me that you're talking about.
Well, you know, that's what I thought the BR was. So now I've got a hexagonal B2. I wonder if you're on there twice or something? That's weird.
No, I'm only on the computer.
Well, we got a spy.
Missed
I'm
it, I guess.
able to see Brent's full name, so I didn't know what you were talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, none of the people we've identified are members of the public. So no speakers from the public here tonight. Let's move on to other business and announcements here. The agenda for September 2022 TAC meeting, that will be determined. We'll be preparing for the presentation at that point, maybe putting finishing touches on it. We will need to have the agenda laid out enough prior to Labor Day that we'll feel comfortable that looks, like what we want to do. But I think we'll set the September agenda, either our working session or in the run up there, making sure that we're helping get jumped off for the our meeting with the board. The one thing we might consider doing, although I'll admit I'm thinking about this for the board meeting, is again the underserved areas discussion.
Yep.
So that might be on the 20th of September, but I do like the idea of having it in front of the board. TAC agenda topics for the remainder of 2022. I think we'll take a pass on that for now. Chair's report. Nothing significant to add here. I think we've discussed many of the things that I wanted to bring up, and so I will just say again that once we're done with all the commissioners' updates, let us know if you'd like to stick around for a conversation. If there's and Pete, you're stuck because we already talked about this. But if a third person would like to join, then we'll delay the adjournment. But folks will be released to go at that point if you've got other things you need to do. So with that, I will go through the list of commissioners in the order I called your names in the roll call, and see if anybody has anything to add. So with that, Linda Sperling, I do not believe you're here, but I'm going to just to be sure. Okay. Kevin, anything to add?
I would just say, maybe following up to the vice chair's question about how long projects take. Just a reminder, I chaired a task force on the Braddock Road multimodal improvements, 3-4 years ago. That timeline is now still 6-7 years away. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think we all feel that pain as to why, but I think obviously I think transportation, or really when you look at a public budget, it's funding. It's the money.
Yeah.
So that's my comment, and on to the next commissioner.
Appreciate it. Well, Kevin, I will just say I appreciate that, and to build on that, if we're going to raise that as a topic, I know you didn't suggest it necessarily, although we're picking up on our discussion of it. The question then would be, who would we have come in and talk about it, and what kind of what project would we use, or how would we discuss the long timeline? And so Kevin, of course, would welcome you to stick around afterwards if you're interested and available. But if not, I certainly understand. But that's the level of specificity obviously we'll have to get to.
No, I can stick around. I did take a gamble and not bringing, when I brought my laptop up, of not bringing the power cord, because I was thinking we might do the 2 hours, but I can stick around. I might have to run down and get the power cord here.
Okay, you'd be welcome to. We appreciate it if you decide to. Next, Roger, anything to add? Okay, I'll take that as a no. I see your hand up, Roger, but I think there we go. All right. Okay, we'll move on then. Next is Commissioner Sitnik. Anything for the good of the order, sir?
I would have brought up the speed study, but I kind of already brought that up. And as far as budget, I'm on board with Kevin that frankly, it's really not our bailiwick, but it is the thing that slows everything down. the Richmond Highway project, BRT, it's been slowed down many a time, and it's mostly always money. The latest slowdown was where Chairman McKay and Dan Stork were going to meet with representatives of the federal government to make sure that many millions of dollars which were promised actually are going to show up. So we've been pushing for undergrounding, and we've been told that would change the dynamics enough that the money may not happen. And so they're getting an answer on that before we lose our funding. So I'm on board, Kevin.
So Pete, let me ask this question. When you say undergrounding,
Yes.
what were you undergrounding?
Oh, I'm sorry. I deal with it so much. Undergrounding of utilities, mostly power lines.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. But at one point, remember, there was a fight over the metro.
Yes.
As to whether it was above ground or below ground. So I was just trying to clear up the ambiguity. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We're not trying to get the BRT underground.
Yes. So, okay. Well, Pete, appreciate that very much. Those are your comments, right? That's it?
Yes, that's
okay,
it.
Thanks. Jeremy is not with us right now. Eric, Commissioner Thiel, anything from you, sir?
Nope.
All right, sounds good. Next is Christy. Anything you'd like to add to the conversation?
No, thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Well, I tell you what then. What I would suggest is it's now 9:46. Because we have at least 3 commissioners that would like to carry on with the discussion here, what I'll do is sort of close the regular business portion of the meeting. And quite honestly, all are welcome to stay. Calvin in particular, we know we need you. Brent, Lauren, if you're still with us, you're welcome to stick with us, and your thoughts are welcome as we continue discussing a bit about the September 30th presentation there. Of course, all commissioners are welcome to stay if you want to, but if you have something else you need to do, you're of course welcome to go. And so the kind of official business, I guess, is done here at 9:47. The adjournment will come a little bit later. So with that, what I'll do is transition back to the September 30th conversation. I know we're still sort of struggling exactly sort of how to get our hands around it here. But let me just ask this question to sort of get the conversation going a little bit here. And we don't have to go, I know we're not going to go too long, but at least to sort of, take advantage of the fact here, that we're all together. I like the idea of having a presentation for both of us to be there together with. Rather than us making a presentation where we're like making a recommendation or telling them, here's what we think about this or that. One is a lot more effort for us to do that. I don't think we have anything teed up right away that we haven't worked on before. I mean, for instance, when we did the Safe Routes to Schools letter, we did that, we sent the letter. That was what we needed at the time. We didn't need to meet with them to do that. So I think that really to focus on those things that we can only do together is kind of where I'm coming from there. So and we've got some good good ideas about how long it takes to do things. Underserved areas, maybe telework. I don't think that's quite as compelling, but I think that's out there. There's been so much work on active transportation. I'm not sure we need an active transportation update. I mean, just in the BTC, they will have been talking about safety, an hour before. And we'll be, I think some of us will be in that meeting. I think we'll be able to at least have, like Pete and I think, sit in on the BTC meeting. I don't expect us to be participating per se, although we'll see what Mr. Alcorn has to say there. But we certainly don't want to obviously replicate at 1:30 what the PTC just will have done at 11.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, there may be there may be some things where it may be appropriate for us to raise something in the forecasting area.
Yeah.
So I got a little reading to do. And if I come up with something, I'll send you a note and then you can bounce it, see if you want to bounce it to Calvin and ship it out.
Okay.
It's kind of technical, but it has to do with, are we seeing a fundamental shift
Yes.
driven by a number of things that may make certain aspects of planning more difficult and more risky, you know, and I'll leave it at that until I get my ducks in a row.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'm going to sign off and I will see you guys at least via email soon.
Yes.
Eric, could you I'm sorry, just maybe a little bit more on what you.
Fundamentally, it's called a phase change.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, most of you are probably familiar with a phase change being ice freezing. That's not really what physicists would call it. For example, if you take a piece of very clean glass and put some clean water on it, stick it in your freezer for 15 minutes and pull it out with some little drops of water on it, most of them will be ice, but some of them will still be liquid. But when a little particle of dust or anything else disturbs them in the right way, they will snap freeze. That's a phase change. So in other words, it's a change that occurs comparatively fast. And so the internet, in many ways, is one of those. In one generation, we completely flipped over models of business and everything else. Why? Because all the internet stuff was invented in the 60s and 70s. Okay. Computers really took off then. And as suddenly we hooked them together and then, yeah, okay, nerds could do it, but nobody else could do it. And a lot of people in the business liked it that way. But a few people said, hey, what if we made this software easy to connect? And it turns out, of course, one of those was a physicist at CERN named Tim Berners-Lee. And boom, the internet arrived because anyone could use it, right? He was trying to make easier ways for physicists to share information, but it turns out he made it so easy that the world could do it. The point is that we may be seeing something like that in transportation. Now, I don't know that. I've got some reading to do. But if it is happening, if that's what's going on in the next 20 years, then it's going to upend a lot of planning. Mm-hmm. And so what might be worth saying to people, we might be seeing this, and the implications for planning and transportation are pretty significant. But I don't know yet if I can convince myself that hypothesis is correct.
Would concrete examples of that be like hovercraft or auto?
No, well, I mean, you know, the Jetsons car are great. The real example of it is, you know, aircraft quit flight testing over populated areas when we almost killed a school full of kids in California.
Yeah.
But guess what? We seem to be perfectly happy letting cars flight test themselves on our roads. In fact, there are municipalities that are competing to let Google and others test. Tesla's, they're testing their cars. They're flight testing their cars on the roads with you as subjects every day. Okay, and we're all happy with that. That's a different model. And so it may allow autonomy to advance faster than we initially would have thought. But because essentially we're more tolerant to people being killed by it than we otherwise would be. So, and particularly since we still kill 30,000 people a year in the roads anyway. So, you know, you look at some of that kind of stuff. You look at how fast the electronics and the sensors are getting better. You look at the fact that the sensors are 3D. Why is that important? Because a machine can interpret 3D information vastly faster and easier than it can trying to understand just a 2D picture. Okay, has to be smart to understand a 2D picture. An idiot could make something understand a 3D picture. So there's just a bunch of things like that. We had the pandemic. We've got the internet expansion. Everybody's getting more broadband. So people working from home. In fact, a lot of companies are having trouble getting people to come back to the office. And now whether that's a good thing or not is unclear. from a productivity point of view. But we've got all these things going on in parallel, and it may just be that we're seeing, as some science fiction writers predicted decades ago, a change where, and for example, you look at this little interface we've got here, right? Well, this interface sucks. But what if I was wearing a VR headset and we all appeared to be sitting in the same room? And what if it wasn't a fancy VR headset? It was something that weighed no more than these things. Well, that'll be here in 15, 17 years, something like that. So I'm just pointing out that there's all this change, and it may be that it's headed in a common direction. And if it is, it's going to change things a lot. Anyway, so let me go take a look at that kind of stuff and see if I think there's something there.
A Back to the Future headline for you that was on the news tonight. American Airlines is looking at possibly by 2029 bringing back supersonic travel. There's a company called Boom building planes, and they're looking for an engine maker.
Yeah, the big problem with supersonic travel is, gallons per passenger mile compared to everything else, because drag and heating and resistance all go up as velocity squared. And so twice as fast, 4 times as much energy, doesn't matter what else you do. Physics is a bitch. All right.
Yeah, Eric, one quick thing. Thanks very much. Excellent idea.
I'm not sure it fits, but it could be done quickly.
Well, and that's the thing, is that the idea of the future absolutely fits.
Yes.
We might not make a presentation or discuss it much with the board on the 30th, but one of the things we could talk about potentially is talking about looking at the future, having folks come in, to talk to the board, and maybe, and not necessarily just the TAC, and maybe it's the board, whatever, some way that we look at these new factors that are coming, and ultimately to be practical about it too. And this is a reason why it's going to be difficult to do. We got to bring somebody in.
Yep. Maybe hire those experts.
And so who's that credible source that we say this is the futurist? What's that?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll see you
Eric,
guys later.
so thank you. Basically, that's what I was trying to say earlier, but you said it much more articulately. So thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll catch you later.
Bye. All right. Thanks, Eric. Look forward to seeing you, what you put together. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Good night, Eric.
Good night. It's good to have smart people, that they really know what they're talking about. And Eric's on board with that. That's very good.
Anybody tries to blow us away with numbers, we've always got Eric to be there to challenge them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was watching him, and he was obviously already crunching those numbers during the meeting. Yeah, he woke up someplace about halfway through and said, this could be, like, he's talking about the phase change. And without using the words, that's kind of what I think we all were seeing, that the world has changed, and it's changing more, and it may change a lot quickly.
Yeah.
So
We don't know.
Yep. Anyway, where are we?
Well, I think at Foundation, this is about our relationship with the board. Duh, But what I mean with that is, this is the first time we've had a joint meeting with them. I don't expect this to happen all the time. At this rate, it's happening every 15 years. I don't know. But I think that as we try and advise them, we need to be more in their heads. Now, on one level, you can sort of do that by talking to your supervisor, and that's something we absolutely ought to do. But really, I think it's us being able to watch the interplay on topics of mutual interest. So that's why, we look at the BTC meetings. Now, part of what the board looks at, the board looks at a lot of sort of specific things. We need to allocate money. We need to, make very sort of tactical decisions. We have talked for a while about being a bit more outside that. So I think what we ought to do is bring topics to them that are a little bit outside the mundane, just, clicking off all of the milestones for this hiring, this project, things like that. So they've got to be grounded enough in reality that they're tangible for the board. We can't just go and just sort of beard stroke about things. Although you know, if there could be a way to have sort of a futurist discussion, you know, in a sort of controlled fashion. But that's one of the things, again, that's kind of what I like about, you know, the underserved areas and how long it takes to do things. Those are both things that are tangible for the board, but they're also looking forward. You know, where I am sort of right this minute, and I don't want to cut off conversation because I do want to take advantage of the fact we're here and we're talking about it. And this actually helps me, I know, think about stuff is by talking about it and John about it and stuff like that, is reaching out to Mr. Alcorn with an email saying that, you know, want to coordinate with you on our agenda for the presentation, you know, the joint meeting with the board. Understand you've got, of course, the BTC on the 30th. The kinds of things we're looking at include transit underserved areas, you know, the length of time it takes to do projects, teleworking, maybe at some point, you know, and not as a agendable topic, but also, you know, want to, you know, discuss ways that that we and I want to be careful because I don't want to keep asking the same question we ask all the time. And when we go to the board, it's like, hey, how can we help? We've got a work plan, you know, well, you know, start executing the damn work plan. And so that's a piece of this too. So, you know, transit-oriented development, you know, the, you know, making place and stuff like that. I know there's been conversations. There's something Rachel probably takes to them, you know, all the time. You know, the congestion mitigation, you know, that's kind of the teleworking thing we talked about. Trails, sidewalks, bikeways. There's been a lot of activity on active transportation. But we can acknowledge we're not talking about that because we've both done a lot of work on that, and we don't think there's, you know, new ground to break, although maybe there is. And I think, you know, that depends a bit on what's happening with, you know, Lauren and other activities there. You know, Jeremy's kind of been the one looking at the strategic plan there. You know, I don't want to have just a dry conversation about a comprehensive plan, but, you know, there's another implementation opportunity there. And then the others was, you know, sort of monitoring major legacy investments, you know, 495, et cetera. I don't think that's appropriate for us to work with them on, you know, because that's exactly what they do already. They don't need us to join them to look at the status of a project they probably have already looked at. You know, flexible non-POV transportation, kind of squishy there. I think that's definitely something that we'd want to be in sync with the Disability Services Board. Christie's just you know, coming over here. I don't think that's appropriate at this point to go forward with. And then, you know, new transportation technologies, monitoring development of new transportation technologies. That's kind of what Eric was talking about here. You know, a little bit more beer strokey, to use that phrase, but certainly very much the you know, along those lines. The other thing that we had on there was outreach partners. And I think that, you know, us being a group that can reach out and meet with other groups who've not really been doing that much, we could, you know, do more of those, you know, pick, you know, more of that. And I don't mean sort of classic public outreach. What I'm thinking about is having a sort of a challenging issue in front of us and having public, you know, sort of invited members of the public stakeholder groups come with us and join us in the meeting. We talk about it together. You know, those sort of things. We haven't done that. I think we could do more. The board, you know, they do have people speak in front of the board, but this is more of a conversation. I know this could get a slippery slope, and, you know, already long meetings could go, you know, hellishly long if we're not careful. But, you know, there's that whole public outreach piece there that we could consider doing.
That, frankly, that's tweaks a little thing with me. Idea of bringing in other groups, and we do that right now in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
But if the TAC was willing to, say, bring somebody from the Chamber of Commerce to talk about transportation issues they see, something like that, they might like to participate, because They definitely have their ideas, because the whole thing of underserved, they want high quality people nearby, living nearby wherever the business is. Because if you take 2 hours driving in, and a lot of these businesses require you be there. If you take 2 hours driving in, that you got lateness, traffic problems, and all sorts of things. So dependability is lost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, bringing in some public people would be a good idea, I believe.
Well,
No, I mean, we're going to have Economic Development Authority in, maybe in with tell us what's going on out there.
Yep.
Having the chamber that's an excellent idea, but I also differentiate that from, making sure we don't want, it's one thing to have like the chamber, and I don't want just some, offshoot public group that wants to come in and bitch for, excuse me if it's recorded, but complaining for an hour. That's not going to do us any good, and that'll be a hellish meeting.
Yeah.
But any outside, group that represents themselves well, and certainly the chamber is one.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And I think, Pete, to calibrate that a little bit, there are definitely opportunities to sort of have folks in tell us what they think, but that's also sort of like taking the long road, so to speak, because you could ask every group to come in. We could just fill our meetings with, have a group come in, tell us what you think, next group, tell us what you think.
No,
I know that's not what you meant, but
no.
So what I'm thinking about is we throw a party where the topic is X, and you're going to want to be there because it's a topic you care about, and the TAC is talking about it. It becomes destination meeting.
Oh yeah, it's like the underserved and the TAC. Then the business community can come and give their 2 cents of it from the business perspective. Yes, absolutely, makes sense. Oh yeah.
And actually, one thing we could maybe do and sort of take advantage of the uncertainty. I mean, where I'm going with this is back to teleworking. On one hand, you think, well, it's pretty obvious we're teleworking now. Everything's changed. It has a lot, but Kevin, as you said, folks are sometimes getting, start to miss other people. Want to go in. I think certainly right now, you look at, in my office in the federal government, they're not dragging folks in kicking and screaming. They're still teleworking. So there's no question, that has really changed. But so where I'm going with this is, we could have various groups come in and tell us about their telework experience. What do you see? And in fact, this is actually part of what I was thinking about potentially having this as a topic is I haven't talked to them in a while, but the groups that I was working with on teleworking back in, oh my God, March of 2020, and kept in touch a little bit, but haven't talked to them much since probably, gosh, it's been a while. But, what do they see? What kind of surveys do they have and things like that? That could be valuable too.
Well, the chamber, I would think, would be well equipped to speak on that as well.
Actually, yeah, we've had presentations to the chamber from groups like Mike was talking about, and telework for a certain group of workers has definitely caught on, and it's going to happen. And you're talking about professional workers, the federal government ones, law firms, banks, where that work, you don't have to be in the office. So that's caught on, and it's probably going to stay.
Yeah.
But same service sector and all, telework doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't work at all. I mean, that you need someone behind the counter to sell that gadget to somebody. Make that meal.
Which chamber are you talking? Is it Fairfax County Chamber of Commerce or who is it?
This one, it's called the Mount Vernon Lee, which we're changing our name to Mount Vernon Franconia. Okay. But we also just merged with Springfield. So our jurisdictional area just grew a lot. And we get some really good information that way. We really do. Some smart folks that come in and talk to us. But it's interesting. It was just like with the kids, the big change. I'd never even thought about it. I mean, one thing Eric didn't talk about was it 2005 when the smartphone hit the market.
Mm.
That changed the world. And when you get all these changes going, his idea that phase change might be pretty darn close.
Yeah.
At least, maybe not for the whole world, but for different industries and our transportation modes, there's no doubt about it, it's going to make a difference. That's one reason why we're pushed back on Richmond Highway on the widening so much, because we're building for 35 years in the future, which may not and probably won't be there as far as the transportation need.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I'll shut up again.
No. For a moment. No, you'll be back. Be better.
Yeah. Yep. But no, the chamber could help.
Well, when they were talking about the chamber, the sort of, Lee Mount Vernon chamber, one chamber. There'll be a few chambers.
Yes.
We probably can't meet with 6 or 8 at once. I started thinking, we have a big conference and all that. We can't put together a conference. I mean, we don't have the ability to do that.
No.
I mean, theoretically we could, but we don't have the bandwidth, the person power to do something like that.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with my mind here, and actually Calvin and Brent bring you a little bit here, is keeping up with stuff, and looking for opportunities. I think one thing I think I'd like to do better of is, as we have presentations, keeping better track of when the next milestones are and seeing what happens. I mean, for instance, a great example here is the letter on the Safe Routes to Schools. It got funded, by the school board. That'd be good to know, And when I was talking to Rachel about some stuff, she was telling me about stuff that was, that's good to know too. And I don't know. I'm wondering, Calvin and Brent, is there a way to routinize or something? Sort of our environmental scan of what's going on, so that as you see things like, let's send that to the TAC, or even just Pete and I to, so we're not clearing folks, filling folks' email boxes, things like that. How feasible is something like that? Does that make sense, or what do you think?
Calvin, do you want to chime in, or?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, Mike, I think there is certainly opportunities for us to communicate to the TAC. For the example that you just gave about the the position at the public schools. I mean, we can certainly track these kinds of things, keep the TAC updated about developments in the department.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not a bad idea in general. And we can certainly funnel that through Calvin. I think we would have to sort of try to focus on exactly the kinds of things that you're interested in, the TAC is interested in, as opposed to giving you just sort of a dump of their information. Because there's always, there's lots of stuff going on, and maybe some of it's interesting to you, maybe some of it's not. The widening of a ramp onto Fairfax County Parkway is probably not in your area of interest. But yeah, I mean, I think we can certainly sort of notify you of certain things that the TAC has expressed interest in and wants to follow, just to kind of keep you abreast.
Okay. And with that comes a responsibility to read it, and understand it, and I'm pointing to Pete and I just because of the, you can have two commissioners talk, although Kevin, I think, is sort of representing, so to speak, the idea of keeping all commissioners involved. I don't want to be a bottleneck, and I certainly don't mind all commissioners getting it. I think maybe the way to go is to, just send it out to all commissioners. And if they want to look at it, they can. If not, that's their prerogative. Because again, we want to have commissioners engaged and involved, and I don't want Pete or I to be the bottleneck. until we look at it and release it, it just stays there. Well, you know what? Once we calibrate this, because you're right, Brent, we don't need, don't want, shouldn't get everything. But I would say, you know, one guide is the work plan. Those are the things we said we're interested in. So anything related to the work plan, we'd probably like to see.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense to me. That way, you know, Calvin doesn't have to sort of wonder, like, is this important or is it not important? But yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay. And just FYI, you know, I'm using as sort of the you know, the February 15th approved version, approved and present, the one we presented on March the 1st. We haven't made any changes to it since. So we'll need to, you know, not for the 30th. Again, I do not want to turn this into a work plan presentation. But just, you know, Calvin, just so you know which one I'm looking at, it's that version 7A, whatever, approved for presentation to the board to the BTC on February 15th. That's the one I'm using. The one that you sent out to us on like March the 10th or whatever it was.
Oh, okay. I'll look at that.
I think you have to watch yourself a little bit, Mike, in that you can't jump to the future and then say we're ignoring the work plan or vice versa. I mean, I don't think you can get away from the work plan. And on that, when you said we don't want to look at maybe 495 expansion, and maybe that's probably true, especially since Maryland keeps trying to throw a wrench in it. But
yeah,
you know, we certainly have the HOV lanes, the hot lanes, and those are, you know, that continuing to expand on 95. So I think those are valid infrastructure issues.
I absolutely agree with that, and let me clarify what I was talking about. What I meant was we wouldn't suggest that as a topic for our joint meeting. Not that we don't care about it, we don't want to keep involved in it. We do, and Kevin, I know you've done a lot of work keeping us up to speed on those, and you know, point things out, and appreciate that. But what I'm suggesting is that unless quite honestly, there is an infrastructure project we think we should, you know, discuss, you know, together. Sorry, I don't think the airport's one, given all the stuff that's going on, but using the 495 and the hot lanes and things like that. I mean, you know, they've been, you know, the board is all over that. John Faust, you know, has made his views very clear, and there have been, you know, some discussions and decisions at the board level there. So, you know, things where they've already spoken and things are, you know, the thing is done. And quite honestly, even Route 1. I mean, we sort of tweaked around the edges on Route 1, but you know, the plan was in place when we were looking at it. So we need to be ahead of the game rather than come back later and say, oh, you know, say something that makes it sound risky. We sort of, you know, you screwed up.
But I think ahead of the game, and correct me if I'm wrong, on 495, maybe Supervisor Faust wasn't, you know, thrilled with some aspects of it, but that project is coming in Virginia, and if there's anything that TAC can contribute to it, is I think you know, having people in that are mitigating the impacts that the Supervisor Faust was worried about, and seeing how that's progressing. And I think that's a valid role, but that project is coming, is, you know.
I agree there. Are you suggesting that as a potential topic for September 30th, or just to make sure we don't forget about it?
No, I mean, that's just another topic for next year. You know, it's all part of the work plan, but I tell you guys again, I've said this earlier. I mean, I'm like, you know, if each wanted to put $1 down, I would take it that meeting's going to get postponed. They're going to run out of time. There's something else. I just cannot believe we're getting in 90 minutes with the POS when we could hardly get, you know, 15 the last time. You know, just, I'm in shock, but you've got a plan for that. So the sooner you get with Commissioner Alcorn, the better. And, you know, and let me tell you about Dulles. Pete will tell you this. When we stood there in the Board of Supervisors chamber in the auditorium, he said, we want you guys to be independent. So, you know, maybe that's only one supervisor. Maybe Kathy Smith would have a heart attack if we brought it up. But I've just been so busy, but I don't know if you saw in the Post, an article on the Brambleton community on the other side of Dulles and Loudon. All these people complaining about airport noise.
Yeah.
So I need to send that around to the commissioners. So it's a valid topic, but I haven't had a chance to get with, my planning commissioner is very active on that. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but, to just touch on it and say that the noise, not taking the updated parameters is a concern. The noise parameters that the FAA and, MY agreed to.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
Touch on that. I mean, we were working 7 years in Mount Vernon to control airplane noise, and the FAA basically now has told us, no, we don't need to talk anymore because of what the position. It's assumed is because of the position Fairfax is taking.
Okay.
So it pretty well killed our efforts to get anything done. So it's not a happy day over here with airplane noise.
it's just it's a fascinating topic, but from my understanding of it, I mean, in one part of that, National is built out, so you're not going to be putting any more runways in there. I think communities still have impact with, monitoring the flight paths in whatever quieter planes are coming. I mean, around the edges, you still have impact. At Dulles, we've got a greatly underutilized, jewel, and I think it's important that we don't, we don't encourage people to move in next to the airport and then complain about it. So
that's going to be it.
Well, I do have a thought on sort of the bigger picture, but Pete, just for a moment, and I can imagine perhaps, but I'd like you to tell me how did the Dulles noise contour decision shut down the FAA talking about Reagan? What was it what's their rationale?
Well, we've been representing Mount Vernon District with the FAA and saying that we need the flight paths changed in ways to mitigate noise. They were listening the full time. There was really in-depth conversation for 7 years, and we were getting close. When the Dulles situation came up, the people directly involved with the day-to-day meetings with the FAA, which were highly qualified people, were told that by the FAA that, and the FAA opposes exactly what Fairfax County is doing. It's old data, and it will most likely cause restrictions on the airport in years to come. And if they didn't like the idea that Fairfax County would, on one hand, say, quiet it down around Mount Vernon, but we're going to probably make it much noisier out of Dulles. So they walked away from the talks.
Okay.
What's your experience? I mean, we know on the other end of the runway coming in from Arlington, they're very limited to what you can do.
Yeah.
What have you seen on the other side coming in from the other end from Mount Vernon? How much can you alter the flight paths?
Actually, pretty substantially. Basically, you locate it. They have waypoints where flights are computer driven to, and by adjusting the waypoints in a way that keeps most of the incoming and outgoing flights directly over the middle of the river for a little longer period of time, the effect on homeowners and everything else is greatly reduced. So we had a solution, and we were getting close to an agreement. But we still have the solution, but the talks have died.
I don't know how much that's under our purview, but personally, I would be curious. I can't believe they've shut down. If there's, I don't see it has to be win-lose here with the FAA that if they can get the flights in safely and they can, move the waypoints,
Could be,
we would need to hear from that side. All right, why can't you do this? Why can't you do it?
I doubt it right now. I doubt right now if they'll even answer that question.
That would surprise me. I don't know, maybe even what I had just read from this article on Brambleton, because MWA has a point person on that, and I keep thinking MWA is solely Dulles, but obviously they have Reagan. We could get him in, because he would know. He would know why, if we're being stonewalled by the FAA on Mount Vernon. So when we get to, or if we have that meeting out at Dulles that I want to have, our tour, we could have him here to talk about that. But
no, it'd be great to hear that from over there, but it'd be quite interesting to see if anybody would actually answer the question. But
I'd be surprised. We'll see what happens. But certainly not a discussion item for what the Board of Supervisors done.
No.
But
Yeah.
I'm happy to take that up with you when we get around to Dulles.
Well, if you get an answer, I'd be shocked, but it'd be nice to hear. But our guys are being stonewalled right now.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, ideally, and I don't want to belabor this, but ideally we'll have it on, and if it may be getting tighter to get our Dulles visit this year, but assuming we get that done in the next 6 months, we can certainly, in addition to Michael Cooper, have the guy that takes the noise complaints and work that into the discussion.
Yeah, well, if we don't bring him to the TAC, I could always invite him to the Mount Vernon Council.
Yeah, I mean, you have that option too, and I would be surprised if he didn't come.
Yeah,
That's true.
Well,
That's true.
get his business card.
Yeah.
Yep,
Well, one thing I think we can do, if for no other reason, just so that he's aware, is to mention the airport Dulles noise contour issue to Mr. Alcorn and see what his thoughts are.
Yep.
Sure.
So just to let him know, not to take a position, but to say, here it is. What's he heard? And just see.
Maybe not to take a position, but you can tell them that there are commissioners that are concerned about the board's position. So
I don't need to go that far, but the mere fact of raising it is, hey, you know what? There does seem to be some concerns about risk, and yeah, there are commissioners that have concerns about risk. So the commission is not looking at it. We recognize it's a very sensitive topic, which is why, sir, we wanted to chat with you about it. Just get your thoughts.
It is. It's highly charged.
Yeah.
I just go on Mr. Stork's comment to you. So,
I understand.
what are they going to do, Mike? I don't get reappointed.
Let's get to the point that we're all getting older, so at some point we're all going to want to retire from things eventually, but just not today. Although I don't know. So
get me out of my condo board. It's just
There you go.
I just, if you can believe it or not, if I haven't lost my mind already, although I shouldn't be saying this recorded, I let my Sally, the transportation guy for Walkinshaw, talk me back to getting back on the Braddock District Council because it was in a death spiral. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll be treasurer again, thinking, I'll write some checks for them and get bills paid and stuff. But it's getting this whole thing revved back up again, and it's meetings and emails and stuff, and I'm just a little overextended.
Yeah, well, we're all feeling that way.
Yes.
Southwest border's still there. Every time you talk to Pete, he's got this and that going on. Involved in this group, involved in that group.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's very much part of the triage.
I won't take the border up tonight on a recorded meeting, but it just blows me away. Yes. I don't envy you.
We're busy as hell. We're busy as hell. Well, I tell you what, let me put an email together for Mr. Alcorn, and I think we've got 2 or 3 topics that's going to get the conversation going. Come at it with a sort of a joint meeting where we're both getting, we're there together getting a presentation on a topic, X, Y, Z, whatever the case may be. I think And I'll share that. I know we're being recorded, but that's okay. One of the reasons I wanted to have the TAC award during the meeting was probably the same reason we're all thinking, less time to fill. Because there's 15, 20 minutes there that, unless we've got to fill. But at the same time, too, it's a golden opportunity, to be able to take advantage of it here. So, I will say, I don't think, the opportunity is not worthless at an hour and 10 and golden at an hour and 30. So the mere fact we're doing it is the main thing. But
if we're ready for Bear, you take every bit of the 90 minutes and do the TAC award some other time. But you two have got your hands full. You got we are very short represented on the TAC. The some that we do have are not here tonight when we were talking about the topic, and then the vacancies. Are we going to be fully represented from the TAC?
Well, I doubt it. Maybe, but I doubt it, and that's certainly something we can talk about. And there will be there'll be a lunch in the middle, so we'll get a chance maybe to get folks come in early and do a little bit of politics and all that general. We can't be together because that's a FOIA obligation. And I don't know how the board of supervisors do. Maybe they all sit at a separate table. I'm not sure how that works.
No, we saw them when we had lunch with Rachel. We saw them all at the same table.
Yeah.
Remember that when we?
There you go. There you go.
Well, they'll record it, so I didn't really mean that. But I think expect some input from Jeremy. I don't think Linda's, maybe every other meeting, so I don't know what's on her agenda. Christy, it'd be great. I think seems like she'd be a great addition to the TAC.
Yeah.
It's just, it's very hard on somebody that's first meeting to,
Oh yeah. And we lost both of our commissioners on the trails, sidewalks, and bikeways, the active transportation stuff. But I guess flip that around. The good news is we've been doing a lot of stuff there. We made a lot of progress, so it's not like we lose everything, but that is unfortunate.
Did anybody ever talk to Kelly or Alexis?
I reached out to Alexis because she actually had made a comment that she resigned because she didn't feel that there's some TAC members that didn't really want to advise the board of supervisors and didn't want to make enough contributions there. And so I had to write her back, respectfully take exception to some of that. We absolutely were and continue to do things to advise the board of supervisors. And ironically, and I mentioned this, two of them were things that she was doing.
Yeah, the Safe Streets to funding by the school board. That was
a nice thing we did, yeah.
Yeah,
right now the TAC, the Board of Supervisors has taken us serious enough to give us an hour meeting. That's the first. Yeah. So we must be doing something right. But with all that said, is it time to say goodnight?
I think it is.
I won't argue with that.
I won't argue with that. So let me put an email together. Pete, I'll copy on it there. What I'll try and do is have a phone conversation with Mr. Alcorn soon, very soon. That's the first one, and I do want to talk to Tom as well. Although we'll figure out a schedule, for that. But we need to start with Mr. Alcorn, and we will talk to Rachel as well. I know we both talked to her, and she's put a little Starburst thing together, very focused on active transportation. So look at that as well too. Maybe some thoughts there. So. I'm not going to work an email to Mr. Alcorn tonight, I got to say. So, Pete, if you've got some additional ideas tomorrow, the day after, because I do need to do that before the week is out. So, you don't have to, but if you do have any ideas.
No problem. We will get this together. Simple as that.
We'll figure it out.
In your back pocket when you talk to him, if he's, it comes out of your discussion, hey, maybe this would be more productive in February or something, you tell them we're not averse to that.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
If we have 90 minutes, I just don't want to waste it. Just like all of us agree to that. Yeah. We don't want to be up there lost.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And actually, with the BTC meeting, before, how good it, how productive is that? However, if we don't go at 1:30, they got to fill it with somebody else. And so some poor commission that, was fat, dumb, and happy, no problem, things are great. Whoa, we got to go in front of the board for an hour and a half? Are you kidding me?
Well, I think we need to go and take care of business now. I don't think anybody on the board will say you have to use all 90 minutes. If we get done in an hour and they get an extra break, I think they'll be perfectly happy.
I think
Yeah,
so.
that works too.
They did not object when, we went through very quickly the points for the work plan.
Yep.
Thanks. You got a lot crammed in a little bit of time. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm signing off, good folks.
Okay.
Well, the last point.
We're adjourned at that. Let me say we're now adjourned at 10:35 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Calvin and Brent sticking out. Roger, it looks like you're still with us. Thank you, sir, too.
I had to take a break, but I'm back.
There you go.
Mike, do we need to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Can we do that with less than a quorum? I think we can, can't we?
I
Let's adjourn.
All right. There's a motion from Commissioner Sidnick to adjourn. Is it seconded?
Yes.
By Roger. Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn? Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Good
Good.
night, all.
We're adjourned at 10:35 p.m.
Bye.
Mike and Pete,
Thank you.
you have you guys are busy. You have the Sully position. Deal with it.